Testing, testing, testing. JB here, JB here. Hope everyone's doing outstanding. July 3rd, 2019. Half a session. Market close at 1 today. Certainly can stick around after 1 o'clock, but there won't be any trading action. Actually, I think some of the other markets are open. Commodities, I think, are until 2 o'clock, or maybe it's even 5 o'clock. Then markets close tomorrow and open for a full day on Friday. My favorite days of the year are the half days for some reason, because I think a lot of the inter-day market stuff that goes on could be cut out and you could just have the market trade for a couple hours. Although some people argue that the market should be open 24 hours. Anyway, so first, I guess let's see here. The first, I guess I'll talk a little bit about yesterday and this chop we've been in. It was a very tight range yesterday and the day before. Market's been up 4 days in a row after being down for. Whoop, sorry about that. So yesterday's action between 296 and change all the way down under 295. Some of the moves happened quick, but despite those swings, it was still a tight range. The VIX was back above 14 after 12 o'clock. Was the all those headlines going across the wires around Pence's trip to New Hampshire being canceled abruptly based on some rumored emergency. Or you also had Putin was supposed to go meet with his defense minister, and then you had the EU was in a secret meeting or whatever. So who knows how this all pans out. I'm not going to sit here and try and pretend I know exactly what happened at any of those meetings or what they were for, but you would have to assume the Pence's meeting visit to New Hampshire was around the opioid crisis, so maybe there was something in the speech or something that needed to get resolved, or maybe some other situation that prevented him from being there. In regards to Putin, you had that emergency because of the big fire on a nuclear sub. So, I mean, I guess you could say, hey, is there issues in regards to some kind of nuclear weapon situation? Is there a Red October situation? Speculation, leads to fear. If you try and piece the pieces together and listen to some of the headlines and folks that were speculating on FinTwit and even the headlines that were going across, you would say, wow, World War III, get the puts, get the bomb shelter. I was making a joke. A firework goes off, and you'd run into the bomb shelters. It's safe to come out. So, yeah, I'm not saying discount. I'm not saying to trade without looking at any kind of news event. I think you still got to be aware of what's going on. Certainly doesn't mean you load the boat in certain situations on either side. Just it's been like this for 11 years. I guess what is this, the longest stretch run now in the bull market? He's just kind of tune out the noise for now, and so that was a market action yesterday, but you saw VIX go over 14, and then it just melted for the rest of the day, closing right at the lows of the session. My only concern here, and I was hoping for some consolidation before the 300 tests on the SPY, is that the VIX is closed under the lower Bollinger Band 2 days in a row. Typically when that happens, you get some kind of reversal. It precedes and not just a little reversal, like a pretty large reversal. Typically on the upside, so when VIX is very high, and let's say it was at 25 and it was above the upper Bollinger Band 2 days in a row, typically then you would get a huge bounce, you get a squeeze. On the flip side, sometimes we see it when we have a rally. So certainly watching that today. I would like to actually see the VIX flat or maybe back into the 1350s or somewhere in there to kind of alleviate that concern, and then we can start looking for 300 on the SPY. Gilead, I put it on the watch list yesterday. If you take a look at the chart, I think 69.20 or so is the takeoff point, and if it gets into the 70s, of course the 71 strikes that I have plenty of time on will be nice multi-baggers. Huge trade went through 1,600 contracts, but the open interest now only went to 1,200 from, I don't know if it was 50 or 100 coming into today. So I don't know if if some were sold yesterday, 500 contracts or so, or more than that, because the open interest doesn't jive with the actual volume that was traded on the strike. I think it was 20-something hundred contracts traded yesterday on the 71 strike. I think it was the highest volume strike of the day on Gilead, at least. So as much as I look at the open interest and look at folks, the sweeps and the volumes, that's just part of the process for me. So whether someone got a huge strike or not, it's not going to 100% change my buy or sell conviction in the name. So I'll continue to look for that one. Probably hold it today unless I get it up to a double. If it breaks 69.20 and let's say it hits 69.50, 69.60, those will probably be a double, and then I'll close some of them out to cover costs and ride the rest. Smart Sheets, what to say here, finally broke out into new all-time highs over 50. I did some of the August 60s, still have the July 55s. Hopefully those will start. They turned green yesterday for the first time in quite a while. We get over 52.50, 53, which it looks like it's gapping up to right now. Those will be a double. I'll probably close some or all of the 55s and just hold the rest of the August 60s. Again, a great name, collaborative space. You have that huge IPO with Slack. I think that just adds more credibility to the space and will add more premium value that's probably not baked in right now in Smartsheets. So continue like that one going forward. I'm not really going to talk too much about Tesla because if you haven't been around a while, you know my thoughts on Tesla, and I think Musk has just got to keep his mouth shut and just let the company do its talking. But huge numbers yesterday. There was concerns with the last quarters, and rightfully so, around demand because there was a huge slowdown from what was the expectation and also what estimates were for. And then this quarter they really pushed, and I think somewhat they blamed on logistics. Of course, getting vehicles into Europe is tough, and getting vehicles across the country is not an easy process. So as they start to build that logistical system up, they're able to deliver these cars that they actually have produced already. So that's a lot of the issue. And if they can continue doing this and kind of alleviate that demand concern, I mean, certainly stock could start heading back to its levels that it used to be at. We can all go into rants on different sides of it, and like I get both sides of the story. If they're not able to, be profitable at some point and they continue to blow through money, and if eventually the demand's not there and there's competitive concerns, there's definitely a lot of headwinds. But I think any great growth story and growth name over the years, it's not like Amazon or Netflix came into the publicly traded markets as companies with zero headwinds and no competitors, right? And the time to make the money on it was getting in when there were so many more concerns. Now you look at Amazon, and when Amazon was $200, nobody was talking about it going to 2,000 or 25 or 3,000. Now the sky's the limit for Amazon. But back then it was a lot harder to look at that name, and you have a lot of people use the same analogies with some of these other growth names, like even Smartsheets. Oh, it doesn't make money. I guess another great example would be Uber, but Uber, probably, who knows what that's going to look like. But you have to kind of peel back the onion, make your own bull or bear case based on it, and go from there. But we'll have to see what the conversation changes from. If there's another quarter that they beat on deliveries, then you start wondering, the demand issue is not there. And it used to be demand back when there was a $20 and $60 and $70 stock. Then they're not going to be able to produce enough cars. They're not going to be able to do 3,000 and 5,000, 7,000. Now does it go back to being a supply issue? So we'll have to see how that all turns out. But just interesting, it'll keep changing the story until it confirms the bias, right? Confirmation bias. Intuitive Surgical, churning around here at the 530 level. I've been looking at it a couple times the last couple weeks, trying to play it for upside. It's over 531 or so in the pre-market. Take a look at the 540. It's pretty inexpensive. I know the market's only open for another, I guess you would say, day and a half. Although I think the volume today, it's not. I don't consider today a half day because I think you still get the same action. But if it starts to look like it's going to hold 530, 531, somewhere in there, I'll probably look for some of the 540s because they look pretty inexpensive on a risk-reward basis. All it needs is a 1.5%, 2% move, and those calls will be some nice multi-bagger. So I'll be looking at Intuitive Surgical. That's about it. Still like Huya, still love SSYS. The premium's still holding up on the September 30s, so I'll continue to hold those. Talked about it yesterday, and UPB has some great articles on those fat finger trades. A couple more the last couple days, all the way down at 291. Let's see what it was. 291. 290, where is it? I don't even know what it is. 291.23, 291.21, and 293.23, something like that. 293.29. So most times you don't pay. It's hard to discount those or dismiss them because it's probably and possibly someone just put the wrong trade in. But over the course of this bull market run, there's been a lot of these fat finger trades that have come to fruition, and eerily so. It's not even like it was. Months or years. It happened a couple days after the fact. So certainly something to pay attention to. Again, I'll be watching that VIX. If it looks like there was a pain at 1258 this morning. So maybe we're getting down to 1250s today. If we're under the lower Bollinger Band, that might be another concern for me. So I think that's it, folks. I'll try to be back on the audio. If not, have a happy holiday, 4th of July holiday. I'll see you all. I'll be on the audio Friday. Still working on my top 5 webinar. There's a couple stocks that are kind of on the cut, and then I should have the webinar out hopefully by Friday, if not by Monday. I do apologize for the delay, but I'd rather make sure that I've done my due diligence before I just put it out just to meet the timeline. So anyway, folks, that's it. Let's have a great day. Rock and roll. I'll be back.